let's talk about data vault versus data mesh, right? Data mesh is certainly a fairly hot topic that's out there in industry. How would you compare data vault to data mesh?
So, first of all, I'll say I am by no means a data mesh expert, and I don't play one on TV, right? What I do is listen to the industry. I read various articles like most people. I listen to podcasts like yours, Bob, and I kind of wrap my head around some of the terms that are being, thrown about, if you will, in the industry to try to discern. I'm listening more for like definitions. Can anybody actually define something, what this term means? So first, I would say that data mesh and data vault aren't really apples to apples. Data mesh, at least in my mind, data mesh is a concept that's being sort of defined and fleshed out as the industry sort of wrestles with, how it's going to incorporate this new concept into their business. Which, data vault, whereas data vault is really a very well-defined methodology. It deals with, specifics related to, how to build a complete analytic solution, starting with the business concept perspectives, as Mike was pointing out, right, over to acquisition, data acquisition, out to information delivery. And then we circle back around through a closed loop system to, ultimately continuous improvement for the enterprise. So it's a true end-to-end solution. Data mesh, at least as I understand it, really talks about the democratization of the data store while it retains a centralized management of the data, the metadata. So to me, data mesh is this concept that espouses, moving the productionalization of information outcomes, out from under the control of IT and into the functional business areas in an effort to, address the problems that businesses have encountered in utilizing their data. So rather than, centralizing the data store in what data mesh terms this monolithic, data store, the data is democratized to the functional business areas while the metadata remains centrally managed. Secondly, one area where I see synergy then between data mesh concepts and the data vault methodology is that both assume this centralized metadata infrastructure management approach in order to succeed. And that's sort of the tie-in between the two. In other words, in mesh, you can deploy the data wherever you want, but in order to be successful, it says you have to have centralized metadata management. The methodology of Data Vault that addresses consistency, repeatability, pattern-based approaches to design of both the architecture, your process paradigms, and the logical data model are very much aligned with data mesh and would, in my opinion, I'll just say this, enhance any implementation of a data mesh. The data mesh concept has not defined how to do this. Again, it's a concept. Maybe you could even consider it a framework in its description of what needs to be done. It's not a methodology. It doesn't tell you how to build one, how to implement it, right? So, in fact, I will be bold enough to say, you've got this on recording. You can hold me to this, right? But I would be bold enough to say that the Data Vault 2 methodology is the optimal approach for building out a data mesh because it does give you the how to build. The guiding principles that have underpinned what I would call the data mesh movement are exactly the same guiding principles that have been underpinned in the Data Vault. We share a lot of the same values. We share a number of the same principles in the way that we approach these data and information challenges. So as you can imagine, with a methodology that shares so many of the same values and guiding principles, DVA personally, we're thrilled with what's going, coming out of data mesh. We believe that, the glove fits beautifully, it fits naturally, that Data Vault 2 resonates with the concepts of the data mesh. So I will say, I will throw out a shameless plug, if I may, that one of our keynote speakers at the conference this year, coming up in May, is a woman by the name of Jennifer Stirrup. She's a recognized speaker, sort of a thought leader in our industry, and she's going to be talking about data mesh, data fabric, and data vault. So I would encourage folks to take a look at at the conference and what's going on there this year, because we are definitely addressing data mesh. But going back to this concept of data mesh, one of the business problems that the mesh is sort of aimed at helping to resolve is born out of the fact that the business has been asking for these things like self-exploration, discovery, self-service in, accessing and analyzing their data. And they've been asking for this for decades. And Data Vault methodology was engineered to help sort of scratch that itch.
Well, that makes perfect sense. Thank you.